So good morning, everyone from Antigua or wherever you are in the world, if it's evening or if it's in the afternoon. I am pleased to warmly welcome you to today's event entitled Dialogue on Strengthening Youth Capacity for their Involvement in Adaptation Processes. Before I begin, I would like to read some simple but powerful words from youth around the world. Youth and children, as the next generations, have the right to a clean future. The climate crisis has already been solved. We already have the facts and solutions. All we have to do is wake up and change. This fight for climate justice doesn't extend to our physical environment, but also impacts negatively on our children's and young persons' mental health environment. Good morning again. My name is Kaya Ward, and I'm a member of the Paris Committee on Capacity Building. I am pleased to warmly welcome you again to this event, which is jointly led by the United Nations and University Vice-Rectorate in Europe, UNU-VIE, and Impulsouth under the PCCB Network. Today's event is an exciting collaboration between two members of the PCCB Network, UNU-VIE, and Impulsouth. It is thanks to their partnered efforts and joint passion for strengthening youth capacities that we will enjoy today's engaging panel discussion. I am eager to listen to the speakers as they identify gaps and challenges related to enhancing youth engagement in climate action adaptation processes. I'm also looking forward to exploring innovative ideas that can promote and advance the discussion on youth participation at local, national, and international levels. Before we dive into the theme of this event, I would like to quickly introduce you to the PCCB. Established at COP21 in 2015, the Paris Committee on Capacity Building, PCCB, seeks to address current and emerging gaps and needs in implementing and further enhancing capacity building in developing countries. Its mission is to identify possible solutions to address such gaps and needs, including enhancing the coherence and coordination of capacity building efforts related to climate change. As a member of Working Group 3, our work focuses on awareness raising, communications, and stakeholder engagement. So we strongly believe in the importance of engaging with all stakeholders, particularly youth, and across all regions. The PCCB network, launched in 2020, is a voluntary association of stakeholders supporting the PCCB's mission. It facilitates information sharing on best practices, enhances the PCCB's work, and fosters connections among peers across sectors and regions. Presently, the network comprises of 377 organizations from 91 countries, addressing various climate action capacity building areas. Through events like this, the PCCB mobilizes network members' expertise to address cross-cutting issues, supporting engaging dialogues and learning opportunities on youth participation in climate adaptation processes. To learn more about the PCCB and its network, how to become a member, or its collaboration possibilities as a member, please follow the link in the chat. Now, under the PCCB network umbrella, today's panel will promote and facilitate knowledge exchange and collaboration between young people, experts, and policymakers on opportunities for strengthening the capacities of youth in adaptation and climate action. Without further ado, I'm honored to open today's dialogue to discuss a critical topic that resonates with the future of our planet and the generations to come: empowering youth for climate action through enhanced capacity building initiatives and involvement in adaptation processes. Youth represent one of the most vulnerable demographics affected by the enduring environmental consequences of climate change. By recognizing the barriers hindering their engagement in climate action and implementing effective solutions, we can ensure targeted and impactful capacity building efforts for the long term. Moreover, youth have demonstrated remarkable enthusiasm and commitment as change agents, displaying their resolve to combat this global challenge. These discussions play a vital role in identifying gaps and challenges in youth capacity building, directing efforts and resources where they are most needed. Webinars like this one amplify dialogues and youth participation. They help to foster an empowering environment where young people can drive change and contribute to the Paris Agreement's implementation. This ownership is crucial for the long-term sustainability of our climate action. To achieve meaningful youth participation, collaboration across all governance levels and multi-stakeholder settings is essential. By connecting like-minded individuals and organizations during webinars, we can promote an environment where young people feel free to express their ideas, their skills, and perspectives, advancing the discussion on youth engagement in climate action. On behalf of the PCCB, I would like to thank UNU-VIE as well as Impulsouth for collaborating on this event. Thank you as well to our panelists and our audience for joining. Today, we all have a unique opportunity to learn from one another, exchange ideas, and foster collaborations that can lead to tangible progress in supporting youth for their involvement in adaptation processes and charting a course where youth are not just passive recipients, but active architects of a greener and more resilient planet. Now over to Ms. Tarisai Kanyep from UNVIE, who will be moderating this session to kick off the event and introduce our speakers. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Kaya, for your inspiring opening remarks on youth participation. My name is Tarisai Kanyepi, and today's webinar dialogue. So a quick update on today's webinar dialogue. We have an esteemed panel for you all today. And with us, we also have an exciting networking segment in store for all of you. So without, as all of you are aware, this is an audio broadcast. So kindly may you your microphones muted during the any questions and share any comments you may have within the question and answer option on the bottom of your screen, where we'll keep track and answer questions during the question and answer segment. So without, who's our Impulsouth coordinator, for a short introduction on today's dialogue. Natalia, the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. I hope you can hear me well. My name is Natalia. I'm from Brazil, and I'm currently working in Fundación Avina with Impulsouth project. And it's a pleasure to be here again in the PCCB Network event that we have been working for a long time since the Impulsouth was launched. So it's really a pleasure to host this event as a young person also from the Global South, and also for a person that has been working with building capacity on young people. It's really an opportunity that really inspires me to go further. Firstly, I would like to thank you and UNU-VIE on behalf of Emmanuel, that's our partner also in Impulsouth. So it's always a pleasure to work with them and with Eva and Victoria from PCCB. And I would like also to thank all the speakers that wanted to do this exchange with us today. Just to quickly introduce you from what Impulsouth has been doing. And we are I would say, and we have an holistic approach of capacity building, not only for youth, but mostly for youth. So we have been doing work with UNU with a course that builds capacity by now already in 40 people. And Flaxo Ecuador, that's also our partner, we did a course for 30 people. And by now we are in the second cohort that's including 44 people from Guatemala, Dominican Republic, Zambia, Uganda, Madagascar, and Niger. And the second step that Punlani will be talking a little bit more is that we have a solutions lab, that's an innovation lab that aims to develop solutions across these countries for taking action in climate in a broader way, but mostly in adaptation measures. And I will drop the link for you of Impulsouth for you to follow. Oops, there's not in the copy paste. For you to learn a little bit more of what we are doing and what we are doing to support also in this policy making processes and adaptation processes for climate action. And I would like also to recognize Alicia. She is not going to be able to be with us today because she had a health problem. But we invited them to give a little bit of the Latin America perspective of building capacities to include also BIPOCs and people that in Latin America, indigenous communities, and what we call here in Latin America, non-white people from this processes in the UNFCCC and building capacities for them. And unfortunately, she's not be able to join to exchange with you all these experiences, but I will also drop the link here for you to get to know this initiative, because it's really a great initiative and has been reaching a lot of people in Latin America and giving opportunity for mostly minorities, as we call here, to get involved in these processes. So yes, with no further delays, I would like to welcome you all and invite you to get to know these initiatives and also to get involved with them. And we are looking forward to know yours also. So I will let to Teresai to open the space that we'll have now. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalia, for the introduction. Thank you, Natalia, for the introduction. So we will now move on to a quick icebreaker and network segment. So if all the participants could quickly select from the options that are appearing on their screen, the different 5 breakout rooms that they would want to be interested to join. So if you kindly select that and have 10 minutes to exchange and to interact with different individuals from different organizations. Hello, everyone. It's nice to be back. I had a very interesting and met many new faces. I hope you also did enjoy that. So without further much ado, let's quickly jump into our panel section for today. So we would like to quickly introduce the panel we have today. Like as I mentioned, we have a quite esteemed panel today in our midst. We have Pumelani, who we will start with, and Pumelani is a lecturer and also an entrepreneur, and is a lecturer at University of Cape Town and an expert of economics of entrepreneurship and the founder and director of UATA Africa, which is a data and research advisory firm. And at the same time, is also one of the Impulsouth lab coordinators. We also have within our midst Nina, and Nina is a lawyer who specializes in renewable energy tech and policy and project coordinator at Students Energy. At Nina, also welcome. We also have within our midst Livania. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. And Livania is an owner and manager of an organization in Madagascar, and is also one of the Impulsouth Climate Solutions Lab alumni today. Thank you for joining, Livania. We also have in our midst Lamin, I think, Alicia, sorry, apologies for that. We also have Lamin today with us, who's also a member of Yango's Adaptation Working Group. I hope I got that correct. So we thank you again, our esteemed panel for today. And one of our first questions we have, which is one of our open question that we have, which is open to everyone who's part of the panel today, is if you could quickly explain to us how are your different initiatives building the capacities of young people to lead in adaptation action. So if we could allocate 2 minutes to all of our different panel participants, and we can start with you, Pumlani.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Is it for me missing the other meetings in the other group that you're putting me on the spot first? I hope you can all hear me. I'm very pleased to be here and connecting from Stellenbosch. And we run it's a new, but I think it's a promising solutions lab with UNU and Impulsouth, and Levi is one of our alumni that I trained last year, for example. And I think we are trying to do two things, and it's based on the idea that the South-South context are faced with two things. One is we understand and accept that there's a global adaptation exercise we need to do, and we also accept that there's climate action we need to do. But very few people are talking about it outside that grand UN conference type context to really confronting the real issue, which is we have leadership crisis. Because such a huge vacuum in the South-South context. And the older people who are leading us have arguably brought us here, or they are faced with complexities that make adaptation and climate change very difficult. And some of these are political and otherwise. And then we have this group that sees the light, which is young people, and they are not empowered to act, but they are innovators. So the Solution Labs really tries to tap into that. It taps into that leadership vacuum that young people have the time, capacity, and willingness to do something different. But what young people don't have are the practical tools to step out of their knowledge of the technical things that they are learning at UNU to practically transition that into solutions. So every Thursday, while they study the hard sciences, we meet every Thursday and we go through design thinking exercises, innovation practices that make them get out of their head and start to solutions. And we challenge them to go get user research. Those in policy, we challenge them to speak to stakeholders. And every week we progress to a point where there's innovations. So last year we had 25 plus minus active young leaders in the Solution Lab, which we sifted to 12 ideas and 12 innovations across the 6 countries that Natalia mentioned. This year we have plus minus same group that is active. So there's a level of consistency about this 25 plus young people that we're capacitating every year. And they are winning competitions, they're getting recognition, and the lab has legitimized them to be voices that people want to listen to. And then we are coaching them. We have innovation lab after that capacitate them. So it's almost a 9-month intervention with the idea that we can disrupt policy and we can have some commercial solutions. So that's really how our climate change solution is creating capacities, leadership and innovation capacities.
Thank you, Pumlani, for that concise answer. Very comprehensive in a short space of time. So we'll quickly move to Nina. Nina, if you could quickly jump in. Maybe I could repeat the question for you, if that's okay. So the question is, in a nutshell, how are your initiatives building the capacities of young people to lead in adaptation action? So Nina, please, if you go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much. I just need to confirm that you can hear me. My internet is a bit shaky. Okay. So I guess I can't start explaining our initiatives if I don't give a proper background of Student Energy and what we do. So Student Energy is a youth-led organization that empowers the next generation of energy leaders, accelerating the transition to a sustainable and equitable energy future. We were founded in 2009, and it just came out of a group of students in Calgary, Canada, who felt like, their voices, they were young and their voices were not really heard when it came to energy discussions. I mean, globally, there were so many conversations happening, but very few people, knew what young people were thinking. And so they decided to organize the first Student Energy Summit. And that was, such a big thing for them because they had, over 300 young people from universities globally travel all the way to Calgary to attend this summit to discuss, energy issues and the energy transition as a whole. And so this really just, showed that young people wanted to have a voice. They wanted to discuss, they wanted their, opinions about the energy transition to be heard, but they just didn't have the space for that. And so a lot of ideas were exchanged during that conference, and then everybody went back. But the thing is that, the next year, the organizers of that conference started receiving calls from different participants of the previous conference, and they were asking, so when is the next conference going to happen? What are we doing? And in their minds, they had just thought, okay, this is a one-off thing, and we're just going to go, yes, it was great that we did this, bye-bye. But it turns out that young people wanted the platform, and they wanted even more than the platform, they wanted solutions that will come out of that platform to go globally. And so the next summit was held, and then the next summit. So we're actually going to have our next summit in a couple of months, hosted in Abu Dhabi. So that is the biggest energy summit that we're doing now. So that is just one of the ways that Student Energy actually encourages young people to participate. From just that summit, we were able to see that there were even more, pressing issues and more ways in which young people wanted to advance their careers in the energy sector. And that, gave birth to our ecosystem of programs, which we offer in Student Energy that, address specific issues for specific young people, because we can't just have a one solution fits all for everything. There are different issues that need specific solutions. And so that's why our ecosystem of programs were brought in. And I'm going to be able to tell a bit more about our ecosystem of programs in the upcoming panel session, but that's just a brief history, and it just tells you how our capacity building initiatives are going. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Nina, and also for giving a short introduction on your organization. I think we'll quickly also move to Liva. So Liva, if you could take the floor.
Okay, so as well, as you said, Liva from Madagascar. I was part of the first cohort of the Solution Lab, and I was in this program with my company called Ikirai, which is a beekeeping company here in Madagascar. So we are collaborating with rural communities in producing honey. So I participated in this program. For the reason is for a project which is contributing on climate action. So my project during the Solution Lab was about reforestation and beekeeping promotion with the community. The goal is for the climate adaptation as well, through the promotion of the activity, but also for the climate mitigation is with the reforestation. So that was my project during the solution lab. This was a quick introduction to the next. Or I share, or I have to share directly my experience with the project, with the program.
Yeah, I just think Teresa is having connectivity problems.
Okay. So
Just-
the challenge was because my project was a kind of a long-term project when we talk about reforestation, right? So the result is not coming in short time. Like we feel the fact that this is a climate action about mitigation, but the adaptation was moving a bit good because we invested in a new approach of beekeeping, which can adapt to the change of the I would say the season. That was the first thing. With the reforestation, we are also moving, but as I said, this needs time so that when we make it simple, like we need time so that the forest grows. So that was the first thing. The second one is during this experience, I got the opportunity to talk with youth in the community, which is my village, in the rural community. So what I've noticed also is like the gap between the level of knowledge of urban community and rural community, which is a bit big. So when we talk about climate change in rural communities, they at first they understand, but it is a bit difficult for them to link the link between how to say it, climate change and their lives, everyday lives. So what we have thought about for the youth, especially, is working with primary school and middle school, making a project that can help them understand more and with technical tools the concept climate change and the need to get climate action. So this is another thing, a new thing that we have experienced during this process of implementation of my project. So now we are planning to meet 3 or 2 schools in the rural community where we are living, and then thinking about making a concrete project so that we can share to the next generation the importance of knowing the concept climate change and the need to take action to mitigate and to adapt to it. So about the support, I am very thankful for the Foundation Avina, who proposed an opportunity for us, like young leaders, to make a project for climate action. The last time there was this opportunity, but I think there will be more opportunities about it and like it, so that we can bring those projects with the schools, for example, so that we can support them, and then we can make networks with, for example, Foundation Avina, UN University, and the other organizations that are partnership in this program. So that is the experience so far from my side. There are lots of things that we can share in details when the time is good. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that answer. So Liva, and then quickly now we can move to Lamia. So Lamia, if you could kindly go ahead.
Hi, am I audible and clear and visible?
Yes.
Great. So, distinguished speakers and participants, I'm very happy to be joining the dialogue on strengthening youth capacity in adaptation processes. And my sincere gratitude for giving me the opportunity to speak on my own experience of strengthening capacities of young people so they can lead adaptation action and share insights on how young people can engage with the process to develop adaptation. I'm a member of the adaptation working group of Youngo, and I'm currently working as a youth fellow with Oxfam in Asia, where I am being funded to work on a project which aims to break the intergenerational nature of climate vulnerability in climate vulnerable areas in Bangladesh, where I come from, by investing on vulnerable youth and specifically young population in coastal areas by facilitating community mobilization and active participation of local youth in climate action, decision-making, engagement, thus recognizing their voices. And through activities like network building, education, and training, young people through the project will be empowered to become climate advocates in their own community. And my project will focusing on SDG Goal 13, specifically Indicator 13.13 that speaks about improving education, awareness raising, and human and institutional capacity on climate change mitigation, adaptation, and impact reduction. So which aligns with the idea of skill building and leadership emphasized by the project. And as a young professional, I've worked with UNDP in Bangladesh and Global Center on Adaptation, both where I worked on climate adaptation and resilience, and doing my work in Global Center on Adaptation, I've had the chance to work on a strategy node called Youth Adaptation Network, which was a platform to expand the reach of locally led adaptation knowledge among young people, and to translate this knowledge into action and advocate for adaptation action to be accelerated at the regional level and national and global level. And the network was tried to connect young people from different backgrounds, but also it played a role of a bridge between policymakers and young people, climate change experts, researchers, academicians, and environmentalists. So over to you, the moderator.
So thank you all for answering this first, your project in a nutshell, right? question. And I would like to start now asking Pungani one question for us to start to understand and to try to understand the problems around building capacities, right? So Pungani, how do you feel that these initiatives can find support financially or building capacities to strengthen the efforts and build capacity to take adaptation action? So it's more about where to find support, right? Because sometimes we feel that it's not the main topic. So what do you think that these initiatives can find support financially speaking or building or capacity building speaking to strengthen the efforts? And also I would like before I would like if you have some opinions also from the audience, I think it's nice to put in the chat that we can follow. What do you think this could be an answer for these questions we are going to raise?
There's a hand that's up. Should we take that or should I go ahead?
I think you can go ahead, Pungani, and then in the Q&A we can do this, can attend to everyone.
So can I just clear, so the funding, at least in the experience of this Impulsouth project, there's two issues relating to funding. One is that the project itself is arguably underfunded for a 6-country project. So we often joke internally that we have small funds but big hearts. in this project, right? And that is sad because that's the story of capacity building in climate change. It's short-term funding, and in a way, capacity building is almost like how corporates treat NGOs. It's underfunded. It's a feel-good thing to do, but it's not really an economic project, so to speak, the way economic projects are funded. So there's that sort of reaction or comment from this experience. And that has massive limitations. For example, and it's what Liva mentioned earlier. Climate change in these contexts require long-term supports, and even therefore long-term sort of funding support. But we give these guys a couple of thousand US dollars, which they effectively use for subsistence reasons. If Liva is doing a forestation project in Madagascar, surely a couple of thousand USDs won't work. Right? So the question then becomes, how do you crowd in sustainable funding from the little that we have? And so one way to address that is to use project like Impulsouth for advocacy, which is what we're trying to do this time around, to write more about what we're doing. For example, we are achieving a lot of success, actually, even on the first cohorts. Virtually all those 12 projects are doing amazing things, but we're not making enough noise about that. And then there's a level which is not at organizational level, which is at youth level. So we have 12 projects across 6 countries, but beyond capacitation, there's very little that has gone into supporting them. We all know that you need startup finance, you need a level of patient capital that accompanies that. So the next bit is to then find ways of building that patient capital, and we can do that through crowdsourcing. Like Impulsouth should have a crowdsourcing platform because it's doing amazing work in 6 different countries. So this idea that we can move from pilots to projects. Impulsouth is a pilot that is showing results, but who are the right people to present these results to, that we can then scale up and scale out these initiatives. So those are 2 comments, that there's a challenge of financing this at the level of the joint effort between UNU and Impulsouth, and then there's a level that there's no patient capital built for adaptation. So we are asking young people to adapt, but there's no backup for them financially. So and there's a lot of money around DFIs, there's a lot of money around impact investing that are looking for projects. So what Impulsouth is showing is the demand side of those projects. So I think we have something here, but we need to package it and package it for the right community of investors. I don't know if that answers you, but that's really my observations so far.
Thank you, Phongani. And Liva, if you want to join this conversation and tell what are your ideas of this topic also, how do you search support for your project, and how do you, if you have some advice for people who are doing the same? And yes, the floor is yours.
Okay. So as as I said, I'm in a private sector. I'm not an NGO, I'm not an association, but I'm a company. So what I have experienced for finding support is like we can find how to call it, like competition on online ideas. You can submit your ideas in these competitions. So far, I have an opportunity to participate in an international, I wouldn't say competition, but opportunity to have funds for a project. So we participate in this kind of opportunity, and we present. If this is about, I would say, business, we always can find, if you have that aspect like contributing in climate change mitigation and adaptation, you can submit your ideas, these opportunities. So this is what we are doing, so that we can have in climate change adaptation as a private sector, as a company. I mean, so this is what I can share because we have experienced this so far. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And now I will pass to Nina and Lamia, but still in the same spirit as Liva and Polanyi are saying. We are really thankful for the support of IDRC, that is the founder of our project, right? And that made possible all the support we are giving for these 12 solutions that are being implemented and the 12 that are coming next. And it is a great experience that we are having. And thanks to also the support of the Canadian Agency of Cooperation, IDRC. And we are looking forward to what we have to come with the next solutions. Thank you, Liva and Polanyi. And I will pass now for the next question. That's for Nina, if she's here. Nina, can you hear me? Just to check, because I'm not seeing you. Yes, okay.
Yeah, I can hear you.
So, nice. So what challenges do you believe that are faced in building capacities to take action on adaptation? So in more challenge side, what do you think are the ones that you can highlight?
Thank you so much for this platform. As youth, I think there's so many challenges that come with it. And one of them, of course, is, not being taken seriously. Just confirming, can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can, Nina. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay. So one of the challenges is, of course, not being taken seriously as youth because, most people who are actors in the sector, are wondering what can you bring to the table? What do you even know about, this is like, more professional people's opinions, and they don't really understand that as young people, we already face the impact of, climate change and sustainability issues. And in fact, there's a lot of young people expressing mental health related matters because of, climate change and climate issues. So that is, one of the, major challenges that we face. But I would say that I have to also admit that, as more and more young people keep talking about climate-related matters, and keep letting their voices being heard in this space, that more people, more organizations are starting to take us seriously, and starting to actually understand that we have opinions as youth, and our opinions matter, and we have innovative ideas as well that bring about important change into the system of the energy system as it is now. So that is like one important challenge that I would like to highlight. The second challenge that I would say is, as Phumlani has also mentioned, and Eva has also talked about it, it's funding. A lot of organizations are looking for funding. A lot of youth-led organizations and ideas are out there. They're innovative solutions. I have a couple of friends who are, really thinking outside of the box, coming up with, some solution. I have a friend who's even talking about, like hydrogen, looking for, a simpler way of splitting hydrogen and whatever. I don't understand the technicalities, but it blows my mind that there are so many solutions out there, but there's no funding to do this innovative research. And as we all know, hydrogen is all about the funding. So that is just one example out of the many young people who actively are working out and searching for solutions, but don't have the backing or the funding. And it's not, most times it's not even that the money is not there, because we know that there is enough funding to actually go around. But that leads me to my third problem, which is knowledge of opportunities that are out there, and knowledge of the funding options that these researchers can get. So it's one big issue that we as well at Student Energy are trying to close that gap between the people who have the funding and the people who have the innovative solutions, because we find that there are grants existing, and sometimes like the year closes by, or the granting phase closes, and the grant is still there, but there's nobody who has met the criteria to access this grant and this fund. So that is something that we're actively trying to bridge the gap for young people, like access to the funds, access to knowledge about, where to access these funds. And fourth problem that I would say that I have actively encountered is young people not being able to pitch their ideas or, their innovative solutions to the people who are giving these grants. So it's not like the idea isn't there. It's not like the knowledge of the grants isn't there. It's that they don't have the ability to, say, hey, I have this solution and your money can go to great use in funding this solution. So by the time their communication skills are lacking, actively pitching their ideas to people who have these funds is something that is lacking. And so we at Student Energy noticed that, there's this gap between, young people. It's a big chasm that people don't actually know exists when we come to like communication between the people who have the funds and, the people who have the ideas to be funded. So as my work in the career training program, what we do here is that we help to train young people with those communication skills, including, like meetings, how to, host meetings, how to communicate with other people, how to communicate with, prospective funders, prospective clients, and, how to pitch your ideas to people in such a way that, they want to be interested in your product or interested in the idea that you have or the solutions that you have. So we're really trying to bridge that gap between, funders and, already existing energy players and, young people that need this funding. So that's 4. And wonderful. So I'm really happy that more people are, like we're noticing that there is this problem that exists and we're all trying to work at it. So yes, then the 5th thing, they all kind of flow in a way. So the 5th thing is that as we host some of our webinars and our, classes and programs, we realized that most people who actually have these ideas, the technical knowledge, the skills, and are willing to learn and have accessed us as a knowledge resource. Like they've found out that okay, student energy or PCCB, teaches people how to get these skills and how to access this funds. There's something that comes in, and that's maybe shaky internet. It's these little things that are background in that come from quality of life that young people lead, and it affects them even in accessing existing opportunities. So we can find that there's problems with the internet. There's no power to access the internet. So a lot of people are missing, the webinars where the skills are being learned. And then there's also general standard of living. So we have, we had the problem, we found the problem, we created a solution, and we realized that there's still another problem after the solution. So it's just, we need to also voice these things out, and like governments, organizations, and also have backings from even telecommunications companies. So like I never even imagined that it's something that I'll be thinking there's a correlation between youth empowerment in energy and maybe like a telecommunication organization. There's room for partnership in that area, but you see that these are some background challenges that you meet, and you have to find innovative solutions to help meet those challenges. So it's something that is a real big barrier to having youth access these opportunities. And finally, what I would say is, of course, knowledge of existing opportunities. Some people don't know that even with that's just the most bizarre one, maybe like an art degree or a physiotherapy degree, you can still function in the energy transition. Everybody's voice matters, regardless of educational background, regardless of where you came from or what technical skills that you have. A lot of people, we had this energy transitions skills report that student energy we did in our organization, and we found out that a huge percentage of people did not think that anybody outside STEM could work in the energy transition. So that's about 60% out of 2,000 people that took the evaluation. So 60% is a huge number of 2,000 people that did not think that their skills mattered in the energy transition. And so it's a matter of people's minds being closed off to the opportunities that are out there. And we're looking at 30 million jobs, over 30 million jobs being projected to be created by 2030 just from energy transition. So if like the numbers aren't adding up, because by the time that we're able to come into taking those positions, people don't find a place where they fit in. So that's also something that we're trying to do in energy education at Student Energy, where we, show people in simple ways that, your voice matters, even in simple, not advocacy is not simple. So even in like just lending your voice is saying, hey, provide opportunities for those people who have the capacity to do this, like speaking up about energy issues, and making sure that people in government or people even in your workplace know about the energy transition, know about energy efficiency, know about sustainability, knowing that your voice matters in any space that you're in. So that's something that it's a big challenge that we're seeing, and it's something that we're actively working on. And I am so happy to see so many organizations and other young people who are also doing something in this space. So I'm just going to close here because I could talk about challenges all day long. I'll leave some space for the other speaker to go ahead, but thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm happy to answer any questions or any, just chat about, how we could move forward with, helping youth in the energy space. Thank you so much.
Hi, can you see me and hear me as well? Am I visible? I think I was not visible the other time. Am I visible?
Yeah, you're all visible. Please go ahead. Please go ahead, Lamia. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, thanks. So I think since we're talking about like challenges and problems that young people face when it comes to capacity building, I think given that young people are really interested and eager to be able to contribute, I think I'll categorize, like sort of break down the challenges very briefly in terms of communication and adaptation and adaptation action as well. So one of the main barriers I'd say young people face, or problems that they face, is common in terms of institutional barriers and what I mean by that is like the lack of platform often and recognition for their as key contributors, which sort of relates to how young people are victims of climate change. So often youth participation and funding is a form of tokenism, which means that youth engagement is just reduced to a symbolic gesture rather than any meaningful contribution. And because of excessive bureaucracy, which makes it very difficult and financially burdensome for young people and youth-led organizations to have access to information and gain formal recognition. And of course, lack of access to education in climate education in general is in particular, which prevents young people from gaining the skills and knowledge that is needed for effectively contributing. And in terms of capacity barriers, I think knowledge capacity and financial capacity, they come hand in hand. In terms of knowledge capacity, often young people lack the technical or organizational know-how, which is needed to be able to participate in national and international policymaking processes, which sort of is a barrier for youth adaptation action. In terms of financial capacity, I think I feel young people they don't have access to funding sources for adaptation action, which results, I think, both from the absence of sufficient funding opportunities targeted for young people. Also, I think it's because it's often young people, it's difficult for them to access any existing opportunities due to the lack of knowledge, or because of the fact that they come from regions where it's often difficult to get access to money or any support for the work. And so therefore, I think whenever we try to design any adaptation action program for young people's capacity building, I think sort of tapping into existing resources and ensuring that young people's capacities are being built, they are being trained, is very important. I mean, we can do that through participatory approaches that, young people, starting small by young people, including young people in small or medium scale projects where their capacity or insights can be useful, and they can also gain experience from that. And I think financing adaptation, of course, is something it's very costly in developing country context, and especially if you're coming from an LDC or a SIDS country. So I think young people need to be more need to have access to targeted finance that is directly allocated for them. Also, I think there should be a sort of monitoring or evaluation mechanism at the global level, so which can monitor, like a youth monitor or a youth tracker, which every country can use to assess the level of youth participation, effective youth participation in adaptation on an annual or by 2-year period. And I think youth engagement is also very important in the sense that young people can play a lead role in terms of advocacy and decision making on the ground. And I think for that we need to invest in localized awareness raising, training, capacity building, and empowerment activities. And I think overall for youth engagement, it's very important that we try to ensure that young people are not perceived as a homogeneous group with universal values perspectives, because it misses the vast potential of the uniqueness of youth coming from every community, country. And I think we need to sort of know how to strike a balance between their individual identities and the collective capacities or collective identities as a young people. So overall, I think I feel that we need to sort of identify or give importance to young people, not just because we have to, but because I think we need to. And I think in terms of policy making approaches or policy centric approaches, we need to have more youth-led consultations, I think both within countries and between countries, which can help us identify similar challenges or cross-cutting challenges which I think can be echoed by young people from different countries, because there are a lot of common challenges they face, I think. So that was all from me. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Lamia, for that response. So I have a question for Phumlani, coming back to you. In light of all the different challenges that have been explained and touched on by Nina, Liva, and also Lamia, so I have a question for you. In light of this different varying challenges, what do you see could be or move forward on capacity building for youth in light of these challenges that have been presented?
Okay, so I have three big things. One is all of the speakers mentioned finance. So I think that Impulsouth and projects like these should advocate for a special purpose fund. And that is how the finance community reacts. They don't do small stuff, they do big things. And I'm not talking about development agencies, for example, that are funding this pilot. Generally, finance is a very peculiar field because it's got traditions and cultures that work in a particular way. So it's very expensive for a fund manager to fund a small project. But if it's got economies of scale, and this project, for example, is quite promising because it's 6 countries and could be more, but we need to develop a special purpose fund that can become a parent fund and attract other partners. And when I say special purpose fund, I mean a fund that would have patient capital and be specific to climate change and adaptation issues. There's generic funds right now that don't understand the nuances. One of the things that was refreshing for me in this Impulsouth project was how we would say to young people, here's a little bit of money to innovate and scale out their projects. They had subsistence needs. And you need patient capital because the current financial systems don't understand that you can give someone money and it doesn't go to a project, because for them that is risky. So, and there's models around that are related to impact investing, which we can have a conversation about. The second bit is that, and it was raised by the last speaker, Lamia, that young people are not homogeneous. And that's the strength, for example, of the Impulsouth projects, that we're encouraging South-South interactions and not nationalistic approaches. And there's a lot of richness. My own observations, for example, just comparing the 2 cohorts we have, is that they are broadly addressing the same challenges. They are both working in countries where there's institutional voids, where there's state fragility, where there's crime, where there's a leadership crisis. There's similar conditions that I think they could scale out. They could innovate in Madagascar, but scale out in the 6 countries immediately because it's similar conditions, roughly. So we need to really think about what does an incubation, not just an incubation. Currently, we can only, with the limited funding, do ideation and incubation. What will be an accelerator model for what we are incubating look like, taking into account a transnational approach? Okay, that's the second sort of practical thing you can do. The third one is we need to write about this. Like create not just basic thought leadership, but serious journal type publications, because it needs to be in the right discourse. The whole thing that you were mentioning earlier, Nina, that nobody takes young people seriously, you know, and all these nuances that we're talking about. It's not in, if you pick up incubation models right now, it's not, the text is not there. So I think we need to take a critical, strong intellectual project, build, in other words, build an intellectual project around what we're experimenting in these projects. So those are 3 things: this special purpose fund, thinking about an accelerator model that leverages the fact that in a 6-country project, you can scale quicker because you've got partners who understand other similar contexts, which is very different to how incubation is done right now, which is looking at 1 country. And then this idea that we need to realize that this is an experiment that has not been done before. And so we need to write it out as a software that can be emulated. And that's where our growth and power can come from. No one is experimenting right now with what we're doing. And just before you ask me another difficult question, I just want to say I have to leave, and thank you very much for having me. I need to run away from Tarasai. And I hope that was useful for everybody, and very happy to collaborate after this in other contexts.
Thank you so much, Phumlani. Thank you for the detailed answer. I think we can also pass the same question to Lena. That in reflection of some of the challenges you've mentioned, what would you think would be some of the best approaches that could be, adopted to rectify some of these challenges? So Nina, if you're still on the call.
I'm so sorry. Could you repeat your question?
Okay, apologies for that. So Nina, the question is in reflection of the varying challenges that have been expanded on earlier, what do you think could be some of that could be adopted to address some of these challenges that have been touched on earlier by the other speakers?
Thank you so much. Okay, so first of all, I believe that the speakers also gave, some really good points about how these challenges could be, mitigated or addressed. And I believe Phumlani mentioned something about like having a specific fund, for, these projects that we're doing, and, for young people. So that is a really good point. And I'm just going to touch on something that the speaker before me, I believe her name is Lamina. I'm so sorry if I mispronounce it, but she did mention something really important, which is that, youth are not a homogeneous entity. Like youth are globally found everywhere. So we can't, I mean, yes, we're starting the movement to get acknowledgement that, yes, there are youth, but it's also important to note that, you know, youth come from different ethnicities, different geographical locations. And so, you know, not just having one singular program that addresses those issues in one particular place for everybody will go a long way if you want to address like these issues that youth face in accessibility and whatnot. So regional focus would be a really good point. And I wouldn't say national focus because we have a whole lot of countries right now, and it might be difficult to do that, but a regional focus would be more accessible. You can't help everybody at every time with just one fund or one program, right? You need to break it up that in such a way that it different people in different regions have their own criteria, because sometimes you can't meet a criteria for, let's say, an English-based fund. So a language barrier can be a big thing for a lot of people. So you have people who are fluent in, you know, maybe Arabic and can express themselves very well in Arabic, but, you know, the fund they're trying to access is in English. And those people who normally are very confident and, you know how to express themselves and pitch those ideas, you go there and, you know, they're fumbling. And it's not because they don't know what they're supposed to say. It's not because they don't know how to say it. It's because they can't just speak the language. So a regional approach is a really big point for me, in such a way that you're able to meet more people in a targeted way. Then, so that's in response to like funding. Then you also have to note that you can't really, we can aspire to, but we can't really solve every single problem that every youth is, you know, going to face, or every barrier that they're going to face to access it. So this is in terms of thinking about mental health, for example. Sometimes we can get so frustrated with the fact that, you know, we're making these solutions accessible, but then as we, you know, bring up a solution, another problem comes up and another problem comes up, and, you know, that access is just being blocked. We have to give space to, you know, understand that countries have different, you know, backgrounds and social and economical issues that may hinder participation in those programs that you want to create for capacity building. And you just have to give space for individual countries to progress and develop at their own pace. So finding ways to, instead of, you know, being frustrated about the fact that there's solutions, but, you know, like there's more barriers created, how about finding ways to localize those solutions to those respective countries? You find a way to be flexible with your approach instead of being rigid with, you know, the solutions that you're creating when it comes to capacity issues. Something that comes to mind in this respect is in the program that we run at Student Energy, we realized that we had time zone issues. We had people who were living in tomorrow while we were still in today. And we had to find ways of, you know, ensuring that they actually got the best of these educational content that we were creating. And so we decided, why don't we just, you know, instead of having only a live webinar, why don't we record it and keep it, and then find a way to grade them when they, you know, are able to attend, you know, these webinars, or are able to watch these videos later on. So it was something that we found as a really good solution to those participants who couldn't attend, you know, the webinars when they were live. I would say definitely that give yourself grace. It's something that it's a constantly evolving area. We're doing something new that I dare say has never really been done before. This is the first time the whole world is really thinking about energy transition and, you know, the global climate and heat, what do you call it? Yes, climate change, heat, and all that. So people have gone from just saying, oh, climate change doesn't exist, to, oh my goodness, why is it so hot? And then, you know, the climate change activists are not like, yeah, now you believe me when I say the climate is, you know, there's a problem, we need to solve that. So there's advocacy. Also in the space of advocacy, actually, there's a problem about people not taking youth seriously. I mentioned that. And something that I have seen that helps in this respect is bringing data to, like, having a data backing to show, one, the effectiveness of youth-led solutions. And that includes, like, from having youth-led think tanks to youth-led solutions in the actual technology space, to youth-led solutions in the educational space. Like, hey, these things actually work. These people's voices actually, went on to produce something feasible. It created this program. I mean, for example, student energy is a testament to that. It came from just people coming together to discuss ideas, and then from that, an entire organization that has affected over 50,000 youth globally, has been created. So having, data backing to show, keep your data, like, up to date, and so that by the time that you're, pitching a new idea, you already have the numbers to back you up. This applies to any area as a company, like, keep your numbers to show, okay, we satisfied this number of customers with biofuel, and we have this number of returning customers from the first time that we use that. That is something that shows, oh, your business model is working. Keep it up to date, like, people hate documentation, but it's really important and it works. So those are the solutions that I can think of right now. Yeah, I'll give space for the next speaker to carry on. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nina, for that. If we still have time, maybe we could pass the question to Liva. Natalia, is that okay? Or we wrap up?
I don't think, we ran out of time.
Okay. So thank you so much to all our panelists today for the different information and insights. It was very interesting and very insightful. So we will now move on to Eva for some closing remarks for this webinar. Eva, the floor is yours.
Thanks so much, Sarisa, and everyone, and to all the speakers and organizers for putting this great webinar together and for the rich discussions. I think it's been super, insightful, of course, hearing about the, the different challenges that you face and sort of the role of capacity building, sort of bridging in some of these challenges, but then, other challenges that go beyond the scope of capacity building and, finance and sort of these knowledge gaps were points that were raised a lot, and a really good point by, Lami and Nina, again, stopping to look at youth as an homogeneous group, but rather, youth are extremely diverse and have diverse backgrounds and identities and experiences and different needs and priorities as well. So really looking at those when implementing these capacity building efforts. And I think something as well that I've been seeing on the chat is really the need for partnerships to enable this and facilitate this and sort of bridge these knowledge and policy gaps. And I think that's where the PCCB network comes into place in with regards to connecting, capacity building providers and other organizations, and really enabling these partnerships and collections to and collaborations to really amplify all these collective efforts. And you see that this webinar today was delivered by Impulsouth and UNU-VIE, which are two longstanding partners of the PCCB network. We can drop a couple of links on the chat, but if your organization that you're supporting here today does any capacity building related work, do feel free to join the network and connect with other stakeholders from the capacity building community to again create spaces for these types of dialogues, but also to join each other's forces and implement on-the-ground capacity building efforts that of course are targeted to youth, but that also integrate youth in that process as the capacity builders that they are, and really acknowledge the role that youth play in capacitating other youth and mobilizing other youth, and sort of that ripple effects that comes to it of having these capacities being strengthened even further. So thanks again so much for the organizers. We also have a capacity building LinkedIn group, so make sure you join it and connect with everyone that joined the event today. Again, encouraging everyone to stay connected, talk to each other, share each other's work, and in an effort to amplifying collective action for capacity building efforts more broadly. Thanks again to everyone. We'll also be sharing a post-event survey, so we're very much grateful for your feedback and suggestions, and it will also be circulating as well a summary with the outcomes of this event and the recording of the webinar. Thanks again, everyone, and hope you have a lovely rest of your day.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Yeah, everyone.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.